His life was threatened, and his business crumbled, all because he dared to ask a rich man for his money. What happened in the end will leave you absolutely speechless. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing great. Today, I have a mind-blowing story for you, one that will spark your emotions, keep your mind racing, and leave you on the edge of your seat. It's captivating, educative, and truly inspirational. Want to bet? Then let's dive in. On a bright and bustling day in Lagos, Nigeria, a well-known businessman named Mr. Obi was going about his daily activities. He was a successful dealer in electronic equipment, household appliances, business gadgets, and office essentials. His store was strategically located in a prime business environment, an ideal spot that not only made transactions smooth, but also helped him attract high-value clients. Mr. Obi had built a solid reputation over the years. He was known for his honesty, reliability, and top-notch products. His fellow businessmen, who were also in the electronics trade, respected and supported him. They saw him as a friend, a trustworthy partner, and an all-around good man. Then came the fateful weekend. Mr. Obi was in his store, taking inventory of the electronic items he needed to restock. His showroom was filled with the latest high-quality gadgets: LG flat-screen TVs, LED lights, fancy light bulbs, chandeliers, you name it, he had it. Business was booming, and everything seemed to be going well. A few hours later, just as he was about to step out for an important meeting, a sleek, brand-new luxury car pulled up outside his shop. The driver quickly stepped out and respectfully opened the passenger door. And then out came Chief Badmus Oladije. Chief Badmus exuded wealth and power. He wore a gleaming gold necklace, a designer wristwatch, and a perfectly tailored traditional outfit that spoke of elegance and class. His presence alone was commanding. Mr. Obi, ever the hospitable businessman, welcomed him warmly. Chief Badmus slowly scanned the showroom, nodding in admiration. He hummed in approval. Obi felt a rush of excitement. A big customer like this could mean great sales for the day. Chief Badmus then stepped closer to examine one of the LG flat-screen TVs. Turning to Mr. Obi, he asked, "Excuse me, sir, will this TV last for a very long time?" With confidence, Mr. Obi responded, "Of course, sir, my products are top quality, durable, and guaranteed. You won't find better anywhere else." Chief Badmus was impressed. He liked the way Mr. Obi spoke with certainty. Then came the big reveal. Chief Badmus was about to launch his brand new 5-star hotel. But before the grand opening, he needed to ensure that both the interior and exterior looked breathtaking. He wanted his hotel to be a masterpiece, an elegant and welcoming space fit for high-class events like Owambe parties, wedding receptions, birthday celebrations, and other grand occasions. And for that, he needed the best electrical gadgets and installations, affordable yet premium quality products. But what happened next took an unexpected turn. Stay tuned for the next part. Mr. Obi was thrilled to hear Chief Badmus's grand vision. He was eager to seal the deal and dive into this exciting contract. Chief Badmus then scheduled a day for Mr. Obi to visit his new 5-star hotel for a full survey before making any necessary arrangements. Mr. Obi was overjoyed. He thanked Chief Badmus for the opportunity as the wealthy man stepped back into his luxurious car. The next day, Mr. Obi accompanied Chief Badmus to inspect the grand hotel. To his amazement, the building was nothing short of breathtaking. His eyes widened as he exclaimed, "Wow, what a beauty! The engineers really did a fantastic job. I must say, Chief, this is impressive." Chief Badmus, pleased with the compliment, chuckled and replied, "Oh, thank you, my good man. Well, this is what happens when money speaks." They both laughed before getting down to serious business. Chief Badmus began pointing out the electrical installations he needed while Mr. Obi took notes. "I'm really impressed by your business standards, so I trust your work, Mr. Obi," he said confidently. He then placed a massive order for a large number of LG flat-screen TVs, LED lights for the building's exterior, fancy light bulbs to enhance the interior, and disco lights for the bar and club sections. Mr. Obi's eyes lit up with joy as he eagerly jotted down the order. He beamed with excitement and reassured Chief Badmus, "Wow, Chief, this is incredible. I guarantee you won't regret working with me, sir." Chief Badmus nodded in approval. The next day, back at Mr. Obi's well-stocked store, he carefully packaged all the electrical gadgets and equipment that Chief Badmus had ordered. After making all necessary calculations, including the cost of materials and workmanship, the total amounted to 250 million naira. Excited, Mr. Obi immediately called Chief Badmus to inform him that everything was ready for installation. However, before starting, he requested a down payment of 100 million naira and sent Chief Badmus a detailed business report for confirmation. After reviewing the report, Chief Badmus replied confidently, "Oh, Mr. Obi, I've seen the breakdown and I agree with the cost. But don't worry, my good man, I'll pay you the full amount plus extra once the work is completed. Money is not the problem." He laughed. However, Mr. Obi wasn't fully convinced. Being a smart businessman, he politely insisted, "Chief, I trust you, sir, but business is business. A down payment is necessary before work begins. Please, sir, I hope you understand." Chief Badmus reassured him again, promising that money was no issue and that he would even compensate him handsomely. After much persuasion, Mr. Obi reluctantly agreed, and they sealed the deal. A few days later, Mr. Obi hired a team of skilled electricians, light installers, and electrical engineers for the project. He reached an agreement to pay each worker 25,000 naira for their services, and they all gladly accepted. The following day, at Chief Badmus's five-star hotel, his manager welcomed the installation team and directed them to their workstations, as outlined in the agreement. The work began. The team worked tirelessly to install all the electronics, from flat-screen TVs to LED lights, fancy bulbs and disco lights for the club section. It was a massive job, requiring months of dedication. As the project progressed, the electrical equipment began running out. Mr. Obi contacted Chief Badmus to inform him about the situation, expecting the initial payment. However, Chief Badmus once again reassured him, saying, "Keep working. Money is not the problem." Trusting his client, Mr. Obi took a huge bank loan to complete the job faster, believing he would be paid soon. After several months of hard work, the final installations were completed. Mr. Obi and his team were overjoyed. This was the biggest contract they had ever executed. Finally, the next day, Chief Badmus's five-star hotel was unveiled in all its glory. It was exquisite, breathtaking, and truly a sight to behold, a masterpiece that could host elite events, weddings, and VIP celebrations. But what happened next will definitely shock you. Stay tuned for the shocking twist. 2 weeks later, Mr. Obi sat in his store, lost in deep thought. His once thriving business was now struggling. His shelves were nearly empty, and customers who used to patronize him were now buying from his competitors. His store, once a hotspot for high-quality electronics, was running dry. He couldn't just sit back and watch everything collapse. He needed a plan. That night, when he got home, worry was written all over his face. He pulled out his phone and dialed Chief Badmus, hoping to finally receive his payment. The phone rang, but there was no response. He tried again, still no answer. Frustrated, he stood up from the couch and paced around his house, his mind racing. This wasn't part of the plan. What was he going to do next? The next morning, he decided to try calling again. This time, Chief Badmus finally picked up, but instead of his usual polite tone, his voice was cold and sharp. "What is your problem? Why do you keep disturbing me?" Chief Badmus snapped. Mr. Obi was taken aback. He even glanced at his phone screen to check if he had called the right number. "Excuse me, Chief, is this really you?" he asked in disbelief. "Who else would it be? Stop calling me, Obi." Chief Badmus barked before abruptly ending the call. Mr. Obi stood frozen, staring at his phone. What had just happened? The same man who had promised to pay him handsomely was now acting like he didn't know him. 2 days later, unable to shake off his worries, Mr. Obi decided to call again. This time, the response was even worse. The moment Chief Badmus picked up, he was already yelling. "I told you to stop disturbing me. The job you did is nonsense. I am not wasting my money on rubbish," he shouted. Mr. Obi's hands trembled with anger. "Sir, with all due respect, we had an agreement. You inspected the work and were satisfied. Now you're telling me to come and remove my equipment? You know that's impossible. Everything has already been installed." Chief Badmus wasn't listening. "I don't care. The work isn't even presentable. I'm not paying you a dime," he declared before cutting the call. Mr. Obi stood there, gripping his phone tightly. His heart pounded in his chest. How could this be happening? Had he just been scammed? The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. This was going to be a battle he never saw coming. The following day, Mr. Obi went to the police station and explained everything in detail. The officers accompanied him to Chief Badmus's hotel, where they arrested him. However, Chief Badmus, being a man of influence, managed to bribe the officers handling the case and secured his release. When Mr. Obi learned about this, he was furious but powerless. He knew he had to find another way to recover his Goga's $250 million. 3 weeks later, the situation took a turn for the worse. The bank, unable to retrieve its money, sealed off Mr. Obi's store due to his unpaid loan. His once thriving business was now in ruins. With no other option, he decided to take the case to court. He hired a lawyer, explained everything to him, and the lawyer assured him, "Mr. Obi, you have a solid case. Don't worry, I will ensure justice is served." They shook hands, and Mr. Obi thanked him before leaving. 2 days later, at the first court hearing, both parties arrived with their legal representatives. The courtroom was packed with people eager to witness the case unfold. Mr. Obi sat beside his lawyer, waiting anxiously. On the other side, Chief Badmus, dressed in an expensive agbada, exuded confidence, smirking as if he already knew the outcome. The judge took his seat, banged his gavel, and the proceedings began. Chief Badmus's lawyer stood up first, confidently addressing the court. "My lord, my client is a respected businessman who runs a prestigious 5-star hotel. This entire case is nothing but a mere misunderstanding. Mr. Obi failed to deliver satisfactory service, and my client has the right to withhold payment based on the poor execution of work." Mr. Obi's lawyer immediately countered, "Objection, my lord. The defendant's claims are baseless and misleading. I have here a signed contract agreement between Chief Badmus and my client, Mr. Obi, clearly stating the terms of payment and the scope of work to be done. The work was completed in full accordance with the contract, and Chief Badmus even approved it before installation. I will present photo and video evidence of the completed project showing that my client delivered high-quality work as agreed." The judge adjusted his glasses and examined the contract agreement presented. "This document is duly signed by both parties," he said. Then he turned to Chief Badmus's lawyer. "Do you have any evidence proving that the work done was substandard?" Chief Badmus's lawyer hesitated before responding. "My lord, while we do not have direct evidence at this time, The judge interrupted. "Then on what basis did your client refuse to pay? Nigerian contract law under Section 3 of the Contract Act states that a legally binding agreement must be honored by all parties involved. Failure to do so constitutes a breach of contract, which is a serious offense under the law." Chief Badmus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Sensing the moment, Mr. Obi's lawyer pressed further. "My lord, not only did Chief Badmus refuse to pay, but he also manipulated the legal system by bribing police officers to evade arrest. I am requesting that an independent investigation be carried out regarding this matter." Murmurs spread across the courtroom as the judge banged his gavel to restore order. He turned to both lawyers. "With the evidence presented, this court requires additional documentation and testimonies to reach a final verdict. Both parties are given another chance to present any further proof. Court is adjourned until the next hearing." He rang the bell, signaling the end of the session. Outside the courtroom, Mr. Obi and his lawyer shook hands once again. "That was impressive," Mr. Obi said, relieved. His lawyer smiled. "We are not done yet, but trust me, I won't let you down." As Mr. Obi watched him leave, he felt a glimmer of hope. This battle wasn't over, but justice was finally within reach. Unexpectedly, Chief Badmus tracked down Mr. Obi's lawyer, Barrister Patrick, at his apartment. The following day, as Barrister Patrick stepped out of a luxurious supermarket, a sleek black car pulled up in front of him, blocking his path. He froze in confusion, unsure of what was happening. The tinted window slowly rolled down, revealing a familiar face, Chief Badmus. With a sly smile, he gestured for Patrick to step in. "Barrister, let's have a word," Chief Badmus said in a calm yet commanding tone. Patrick hesitated for a moment before reluctantly getting into the car. Later that evening, they met at a quiet upscale restaurant, where Chief Badmus wasted no time getting to the point. "Barrister Patrick, you're a brilliant lawyer. I must commend your dedication to this case. But let's be realistic. You and I both know how this country works," Chief Badmus began, his voice smooth and persuasive. Patrick adjusted his glasses. Chief, if you're here to talk about the case, let me be clear, justice must take its course. Chief Badmus chuckled, shaking his head. Justice? He leaned forward. Barrister, justice is expensive, and right now I'm offering you something even better, an opportunity. Drop this case and I will personally compensate you with $4 million. Cash, no stress, no trace. Patrick's heart pounded, but he kept a straight face. Chief, are you trying to bribe me? Not at all, Chief Badmus smirked. I'm simply offering you an escape from the losing side. Think about it. What has standing for justice ever done for you? Didn't you lose your last major case because you refused to compromise? And what happened? Your client ended up in prison, and you were left with nothing but regret. Do you want history to repeat itself? Barrister Patrick's breath hitched as painful memories resurfaced. That one case from years ago had haunted him ever since, a case where he refused to bend, and as a result, an innocent man suffered. His principles had cost him dearly before. Chief Badmus saw the hesitation in his eyes and pressed harder. You're a smart man, Barrister. Take the money. Secure your future. Nobody will trace it to you. Walk away while you still can. Sweat formed on Patrick's brow. Fear gripped his heart. Justice was the right path, but for the first time in years, he felt powerless. The weight of his past failures, the pressure of survival, and the tempting figure before him clouded his judgment. After a long silence, he reached for the envelope filled with crisp banknotes. His hands trembled as he held his betrayal in his grasp. The next morning arrived, bringing with it the final court hearing. The courtroom was filled to capacity, buzzing with anticipation. The judge took his seat, glancing at both sides before speaking. Let's proceed. Barrister Patrick, you may present your case, the judge instructed. Silence. The courtroom doors remained closed. There was no sign of Barrister Patrick. The judge turned to Mr. Obi. Where is your lawyer? Mr. Obi's face paled. A sudden rush of panic washed over him. He quickly reached for his phone and dialed Patrick's number. After several rings, Patrick finally picked up. Barrister, where are you? The court is in session. Mr. Obi's voice was filled with desperation. A heavy sigh came from the other end. Then Patrick's voice, hollow and distant, delivered a devastating blow. Mr. Obi, I'm sorry, but this case will not end in your favor. I'm no longer interested in representing you. My advice, let it go. The line went dead. Mr. Obi stood frozen, his hands trembling. His lawyer, the man he trusted, had abandoned him. Tears welled up in his eyes as he slowly lowered the phone. Disbelief, betrayal, despair. Chief Badmus smirked, subtly adjusting his agbada, his victory evident in his posture. The judge glanced at Chief Badmus's legal team, then turned back to Mr. Obi. Very well. The case is hereby dismissed due to lack of legal representation. Court adjourned. Before the judge could strike the gavel, the doors to the courtroom swung open. A young, confident woman, dressed in a crisp black attorney's robe, walked in with bold strides. Her voice rang through the silent courtroom. Your Lordship, I am here to represent Mr. Obi. Gasps filled the room. Mr. Obi's eyes widened in shock as she approached him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. She leaned in and whispered, Mr. Obi, don't worry, there's still hope. The judge nodded in acknowledgement. Very well. State your name for the record. Barrister Grace Okonkwo, Your Lordship. Chief Badmus and his lawyer exchanged uneasy glances, whispering urgently. What's going on here, Barrister? Who is she? Chief Badmus muttered under his breath. His lawyer had no answer. Barrister Grace turned to the judge. Your Lordship, I respectfully request that this case proceed. My client was unlawfully deprived of his payment, and I have all the necessary evidence to prove it. The judge adjusted his glasses. Proceed, counsel. Courtroom battle begins. The atmosphere was tense as both sides presented their arguments. Chief Badmus's lawyer attempted to manipulate the narrative, claiming that Mr. Obi's work was subpar and did not deserve payment. Barrister Grace reminded this court of Section 7(1)(b) of the Nigerian contract law, which states that a valid contract is binding on all parties, and failure to fulfill obligations constitutes a breach. I have here a signed contract agreement between my client and Chief Badmus, clearly stating the payment terms and the work executed. She handed over the document. The judge examined it carefully. This is substantial evidence. She continued, "Furthermore, your lordship, under Section 315 of the Criminal Code Act, obtaining goods or services under false pretenses is a punishable offence. Chief Badmus not only refused payment, but also attempted to sabotage my client's business. I demand full compensation with damages." Chief Badmus's lawyer stammered, "Objection, your lordship, these allegations are baseless." The judge raised a hand. "Overruled. The evidence is clear." After several heated exchanges, cross-examinations and legal battles, the case tilted in Mr. Obi's favour. The judge sighed heavily, adjusting his robe. "This court finds Chief Badmus guilty of contract, breach and fraudulent business dealings. By the powers vested in me under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I hereby mandate Chief Badmus to compensate Mr. Obi with the full sum of 250 million naira. Additionally, for damages and business losses suffered, an extra 20 million naira shall be awarded." Court dismissed. The gavel struck. A triumphant wave filled the courtroom. Chief Badmus stood frozen, his face drained of colour. His empire of deceit had crumbled before him. A shocking revelation. Outside the courthouse as Mr. Obi to Grace with deep curiosity. "Barrister, who are you? Why did you take my case so suddenly?" She smiled softly. "Let's go somewhere private to talk." At a quiet restaurant, she finally revealed the truth. 20 years ago, you saved my life." Mr. Obi's brows furrowed. "I did?" She nodded. "I was just a young girl back then, caught in a terrible mob attack. They had mistaken me for a thief, and I was on the verge of death when you stepped in. You risked your life to protect me, carried me to the hospital, paid my bills, and took care of me until I recovered. You never asked for anything in return. That act of kindness shaped my life. I vowed to become someone who could stand for justice. And I always wished I could see you again. The moment I saw your case in the news, I knew I had to fight for you." Tears welled up in Mr. Obi's eyes. "Barrister Grace, I had no idea." She smiled. "Now you do. Kindness always comes back, Mr. Obi. What you did years ago led us to this moment today." Overcome with emotion, Mr. Obi pulled her into a heartfelt hug. "Thank you, my daughter. You have no idea what this means to me." As they sat there, reflecting on the unbelievable turn of events, one thing was clear: there is always a reward for kindness. In a nutshell, good deeds never go unrewarded. Sometimes the kindness we show today becomes the miracle we need tomorrow. Let's all strive to be good, fair, and just to one another. What a beautiful and inspirational story. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share your thoughts with us, share with family and friends, and subscribe for more interesting, educational, exciting, and inspirational stories coming your way next time. Goodbye.